name is Mark Holt, and I'm the owner of Nostalgia Dirt Series. And I just want to tell you what a blessing it is to me personally for you guys coming out here tonight to honor the Bob Bonzer and the Bonzer family. I would talk, yes. I want to talk a little bit about Nostalgia Dirt Series and what we're all about. I started this. I started as a club 15 years ago called the North Iowa Vintage Racing Club, and by the grace of God, we've been able to turn it into a racing series called Nostalgia Dirt Series. And we have three main goals with Nostalgia Dirt Series. The first goal is I wouldn't be doing this but for the grace of God. I'm a faith-based man, and I just give God the glory for being able to meet people such as yourself and be able to talk about racing and just do this for a living. So a second thing that we're about is honoring our country and our veterans, our servicemen and women. If we have any veterans here tonight, we'd like to honor you with a hand. Thank you So it's very important to us at Nostalgia Dirt Series to honor our servicemen and women. I'm very fortunate to live in America where you guys have all fought for our freedoms, and I just want to thank you for that. The third thing that we're about is what we're doing tonight, and that is keeping racing history alive. Many different racing families and many different racers all over the United States, and that's one thing that we're very passionate about. And we build these tribute cars. We have 3 of them. This will be our 4th one that we're building. And my brother will be talking about that a little bit. He's the one that actually builds the cars. So we, Chuck Friend here, our newsprint manager. Did I say it right, Chuck?
No.
Oh, I didn't even say it right.
Publications manager.
Publications manager, Chuck Friend. With you, we offer a racing experience. You can sign up, and if you've never driven a car before and you'd like to have the experience of racing a car, we have our own track, and you can sign up and for our racing experience. Well, Chuck did that and found out that he's very talented with writing and putting together our publications and stuff. So he came on staff, and he wanted to have his own car. So I said, well, who stands out in your mind as somebody you'd like to build a tribute car to? Well, that Bob Bonzer right off the bat. And you know, I had never heard of Bob. I've been involved in racing since I was since before I was born. My mom was taking me to the racetrack, and so I've been involved in racing forever, but as time has gone on, people have come into my office and saw the pictures of Bob and his race car and just the stories about what an awesome man he was. Not just an amazing racer, but what an awesome man he was and how kind he was. And so this is what we're excited about, is keeping the racing history alive and meeting people and hearing the stories and just keeping them going. So I'll have Chuck come up and talk a little bit about this particular build, and also Marlene told me to remember we've got a silent auction here. We've got some different items. If any of that stuff interests you, you can put a bid in on that. We've got a donation box over there. We're looking for funds to build the car. We already have a chassis. And a body slotted, so I won't steal Ben's thunder. I'll let him talk about that a little bit. Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, like you said, Mark, it was back in June when I first came to know you very well, when I went and took pictures over at the Nationals that we had at Aldona. And that was a thrilling day for me. Of course, I've always been in journalism and working for the papers and things, and so yes, I do know how to write things and take pictures, and that was a fun day. Well, then he said, well, we have this racing experience, and so in July, I went up and Dan and Mark gave me the racing experience day, and that was my first time ever driving a race car or anything, but just having a lot of fun that day and everything. And I said, well, this sounds like something I'd like to do. Well, between Mark and Joe, which you're going to meet in a little while too, well, if you're a staff member, we can build you a car. And then they started talking about the Zeman build and the other tribute cars, the Bub Anderson car, the Craig Miller car, and everything. They said, well, can you think of anybody that we could build a tribute car for? Well, immediately, how many times as a younger person did I go around and follow Bob Bonzer? Now, I didn't know him that well then, but as a church member with me, I got to know Bob very, very well. After my accident, after my heart surgery, things like that, he used to be one of the people that would take me places to therapy and things like that. And this is my way of saying thank you to the family, thank you to him, because I feel like this is one way that we can really take a car that they're building for me, but as for you as well, to honor Bob and to remember him.
Awesome. Thank you. So next up is my baby brother, and he's the guy that kicks me out of the fab shop every time I pick up a tool or try to work on a car, because he says I don't know how to hang bodies or anything like that. So I just go hold my chair down in the office.
He's great in the office, so your chair don't flow.
Yes.
I'm Ben Holt. I'm a fabricator at the Nostalgia Dirt Series. I'm the one that gets to put all the cars together, and Joe helps out a little bit, and you help out a little bit. But I like doing the tribute cars because hearing all the stories and meeting all the people that I get to meet now, it's just a blessing to me to be able to do this for a living, and I feel like I'm retired because all I do is play with race cars. It's really nice.
Awesome. Awesome. So we needed a way to speak to the next generation. I guess I'm going to call myself old and seasoned, and I find myself saying back in my day and stuff like that. So we hired this gentleman here, got a really good head on his shoulders, and Joe wanted to get up and talk a little bit about what his role is in the company. And then after Joe's done, we'll open it up. We'd love to hear some stories about any stories that anybody has about Bob.
Yeah, so it all kind of started one day. I was working on my truck and I didn't have the right tools to do it. So I asked Mark. He's really good friends with my dad ever since they were children. So I asked him if I could use some of his tools. And as I was working on my truck, Mark decided to ask me if I wanted to come on and kind of be his protege. And at first I didn't know really what to say, so I kind of waited a week and ended up coming back, and I decided it's worth giving it a shot, see if I like it or not. So I'm still here. I enjoy it quite a lot. There is tension sometimes working with us, but we all get it through. Putting Christ in our life first really definitely does help. So my main role in the company is basically to reach out to the younger generation. Kids really don't like to ask old people a lot of stuff. They kind of like to communicate with their generation, so it really does help quite a lot. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm told that there's a lot of stories about Bob, and I would love to hear those stories. So you don't have to come up here. I'm not a public speaker myself. I don't like to stand in front of crowds, believe it or not.
Baloney.
So if you want to sit at your table, raise your hand. We'd love to hear any kind of stories about Bob and about racing and stuff like that. Would anybody like to share any kind of stories like that? Everybody's shy.
No, I'll try it.
All right.
Marlene called me and she asked me if I might try to tell a little bit about Bob. Well, I first met Bob in 1964. I went to work at Fisher's, went with his brother Bill there, and he took me down to where the race car was an old Ford down at Milk Specialties on Anson Avenue in Marshalltown. And somehow or another we went from there. Well, the crew was Bob's friends, Gary Moeller, Larry Morris, Bill and myself and Bob, and then we got Ray Miller. Ray Miller ended up being the crew chief, and he was working for Boss Truck Lines. We learned a lot about how pricing goes by using Boss Truck Lines to buy spare parts. Well, anyhow, we moved the car up to Green Mountain. That was a good move, because by that, Marlene and her cousin Diana, they would come over to where the race car was, and Bob met Marlene by then, so that was a good thing. And anyway, we raced out of there, and somewhere along the line, we've been looking at pictures, we got the #1 car, and that was Bob Malachek's car. Bob was quite a racer, and he was gonna go big time. He went down south and brought back a NASCAR car, and Bob bought his old car. And boy, we were gonna do it just right, so we had Niles Cornelison down in Creston, Iowa. He had a race shop down there, and he was gonna build us a good motor. And boy, we made a lot of trips back and forth going down there, and we finally got it all together, bought an engine out of Illinois, and he put it together. Had to wait a long time because it was going to be one of the first 4 bolts. And we went out the first night and blew it. At the same time that we did this, one of our other guys we worked with, he was building a drag car, and he bought the same engine. Well, he ran his in the garage for a while first. He wasn't going to track dyno it like we were. And he come in the next day and he says, well, I know what blew your motor last night. He said they hadn't got the core sand out of those blocks. And so we ended up, Ray Miller, he had some connections, and when GM and warranty an engine, you'd take the engine out, and it was his job to go around and smash him with a sledge, this district guy. Well, Ray got one of those engines before the guy got there with the sledgehammer, and we built it in Ray's shop up in Green Mountain. Had a dirt floor. I mean, this is after going to Cornelson's, where there was a white room, and you know, you wore the booties when you went in, and you had special tools and everything. Well, we're up there, and I remember Bill and we bought some pistons from, probably Napa or somebody, and we were dropping the rings in the dirt and taking them up and wiping them off. We put that engine together, or Ray did, so that's our help, and that car ran good. And I think that is the one that we took to Boone, and we won the Nationals. Now, what I remember about that was by now we picked up another guy, Larry Curson, and Larry Rusty's soul passed on here not too long ago. Another thing, we were hauling the car in the back of a straight truck, Dale Muller's straight truck. He let us borrow that. So we're over there, and he's leading the feature for the Nationals, and all I can remember is Larry, he can't watch. He's sitting on the floor, looking up at us. What's happening? What's happening? How's he doing? You know. Well, anyway, we won it. We got paid. I think it was something like $600-700, Bill. Is that about right?
I see a headline there.
What is it in one of those books?
Yeah.
But anyway, rather than like today, they give you a check or deposit into your account. We got it in the money that they get at the gate. So here was Larry. He had this big wad of money. You know, that was the 600, and I think we ate a little bit better that night after the race. Well, anyway, Haps saw Bob race, so they had cars for Earl Tice and Bill Holder. One of them couldn't race one night, so they called up Bob and wanted to know if Bob would drive the car that night. Well, they came over to Marshalltown. Bob got in it. Bob was pretty careful. He went out, and the oil pressure gauge had fluctuated. He pulled in and he says, there's something wrong here. I'm a Boyd, Boyd says, oh, it's just a defective gauge. Racer. It wasn't a defective gauge. Blew the engine. Well, it wasn't a problem because Hap built engines. So, but anyway, they came back and had a new engine in it. And we had a guy from Nevada, I forget what was the name of the place where he worked, but anyway, he was the tuner. And he didn't use a timing light. He did it by ear. Now, Hap wasn't real excited about this, I'll tell you. And so we went out, he tuned it, we went out, hot laps, blew through the timing chain. Oh, you know, so, boy, we're in trouble now. And Hap was mad. He's going over turn one, he's leaving. And Bill and I went down to some guy's garage and found an old timing chain laying in the floor down there. We brought it back, put it in. And what I remember about this, we got it, and there was time trials. And we got the engine put back together, but we didn't have time to put the radiator, hook it up. So we said, we're just gonna run it, 1.5 laps with no water. And I went over and I told the guy with the timer and the flagman, I said, we're starting her on the back straightaway. When he comes by the start of the line, you throw the green, start the clocks, we're going 1 lap and shut her right down. Well, we ended up putting the car together. We must have done pretty decent but we looked up in the stand and here was Hap. He hadn't left after all. He was up in the grandstand watching this. So then we did a lot of racing with Hap. We went a lot of places, had some good times. We were racing 4 nights a week. We'd race Oski on Wednesday, Marshalltown on Friday, Boone or Des Moines on Saturday, and Mason City on Sunday. Well, at this point, Bill and I were getting up on a lot of sleep, sleeping in the back of Bob's Plymouth. Back then, Bob always had Plymouths. And then I'll be doggone, he got married and had kids, and his daughter married a Ford dealer. So now we're driving Fords. So this is getting awful windy, but I do have one other thing at the end. Somewhere along in the line, we got to race for Chuck Ostrich and a Chrysler kit car. Now, if you got to be old to remember this, but Chrysler was actually making a kit car that made for short track racing. You bought the car, all the parts came and you put it together. Well, Bill and I, we're looking forward to this. Hey, we're going to be able to work on a car. We won't have to go scrounging in the junkyards for parts. When we need a part, we just call Chrysler. They send it to us. Well, I don't remember all that happened at the end, but Bill and I never got to work on that car. Chuck said, only my employees can work on it, and they'll work after their regular hours. Well, they weren't too enthused about that, so the car didn't get set up very good. And one of the guys back here was remembering that we went to one of the first races, and Bill and I, we got to see the engine. We raised the hood. The tools were still laying in there from the crew that was supposed to be working on it. Well, that didn't turn out so good. And somewhere in the long line there, that was about the end of Bob's racing career. And I always give his daughter, Tony, credit that she got him playing golf. So in later years, Bob quit racing, went to the races. He and I went to a lot of races together. And then we started playing golf. And Bob farmed. He was always worried, doing everything right. And we kept saying, well, we probably need this new tractor, this part there. Bob would always tell me, no, Tom, I can't do that. Something might happen to me and Marlene will need the money. So Bob was a hell of a good guy, and I really miss him. Thank you.
Great story. Does anybody else have anything else to share?
I'll add to Tom. We kind of race 4 nights a week. I still work at RDP. I come home from work, we jump in the car. My parents lived in Nevada, so I go to Huxley, drop Bob and off. I go back to my mom and dad's for an hour. Turn around, go back to Huxley, pick up Bob, get home in time to go to bed and get up at 6. That's my life.
Awesome. How about anybody else? Anybody else have any stories to share? Well, that was some great stories, and like I said, I've heard a lot of cool stories from people just walking into my office, looking at the pictures and stuff. And so, just to let you know, you'll be able to follow this bill. If anybody does does Facebook. We have Nostalgia Dirt Series Facebook page. We also have a YouTube channel. That's what Joe's in charge of, is making sure that if anything I mess up on my videos, Joe gets to edit them out. So we'll be chronicling building this car. We'll also be chronicling, it's going to be at different events. I understand it's going to be at a parade here. It's going to be raced at different tracks and shown off at different events and stuff like that. So you guys will be able to follow this car from it being built to what we do with it. And so if Chuck's going to be driving it, some of the Bonzer family is going to be driving it. I understand grandchildren and stuff like that. So you guys will be able to follow that. And just want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting this deal. And Chuck wanted me to mention, we offer a monthly newsletter for those of you that like to have newspaper or newsprint in your hand. Get a hold of Chuck before you leave, and you can receive our monthly newsletter. It's going to be talking about different builds. We're really excited. One of the things we do is we promote vintage racing. We get to promote a race in South Carolina in February, and sounds like people from all over the United States are going to be coming and racing at this event. And so God is doing great things for Nostalgia Dirt Series, and we're really excited about our future and promoting different races and meeting people such as yourself and honoring our country. And we expect to do a lot of great things through Nostalgia Dirt Series. So feel free to reminisce, and if you would be interested in a newsletter, get a hold of Chuck Friend here. And again, I'd just like to say what an honor it is to be able to do this tribute car to Bob. And I just want to thank you all for being here. So thank you. Go ahead.
Marlene, before we conclude, could you introduce your family to everybody?
Yes.
Some of us that don't know everybody.
I'm not sure where Tanya's at. Oh, Tanya's my oldest.
You got to be embarrassed.
And her husband Jamie over here. And her daughter Cindy. And her son Ryan. And then Tony is right there. And her husband is Nathan. The Ford dealer.
Ford dealer.
And Everett is in the blue. And then her son Ian. And I wanted to say thanks for coming, everybody. Oh, yeah, Bill. I got Bill's my brother-in-law. And Ann, my sister-in-law. And then her husband, Everett. And then Ann's daughter, Holly, and her husband, John. And we want to get really stretched out. Kevin and Tam Long are here too. They're on the Bonzer side as well. And then my best friend Robin is in the back. So. And your sister. My sister, my adopted sister.
And your cousin.
Oh, yeah. And this is the one that gets me in trouble. No, it's the other way around. We did more than just go to Green Mountain, I can tell you. I'm going to stay out that way.
The truth comes out.
The truth